Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Claire Auden,
I'm Adriana Bucci.
I'm Telsha Edinburgh.
and today we're talking about communal and religious narcissists. What is a communal narcissist?
A communal narcissist. Oh, they are really fun. Those are the do-gooders. Those are the do-gooder narcissists, the ones that are the superheroes. They are the ones that everyone loves. They'll stop and help the man get up off the ground. They will do, they're just kind of like the Superman, Superwoman type. So they're very, very covert and they're hard to spot as far as a narcissist because their do-gooder attitude kind of makes it hard for you to detect the narcissism in them, but they actually gain their supply by people giving them, all of the adoration and validation from the things that they do good, but they are still narcissists and they still have all of the, most of the traits that your regular covert narcissist would have, but they are absolutely do-gooders.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are really surprised when they hear about communal narcissists because it's like narcissists don't do good things. They don't really care about other people. And some of these communal narcissists are running massive charities and running galas.
Totally. And they'll they'll run a church or like a spiritual organization
Yep.
or, they're a priest, a rabbi, whoever, or they'll, run a dog rescue and things like that. And it's like they look so good. And
Yeah.
in theory, you can't say anything bad about that because obviously someone who's doing like this amazing charity work or, running this women's shelter or whatever, like they can't have a bad bone in their body. And
Yeah.
it's very confusing for most people because they're getting one side of this person. And then, of course, behind closed doors with their families and all that kind of stuff, they're
Mm.
awful. And that makes it so much worse, right? Like a
Oh, yeah.
spouse of somebody who's a communal narcissist. Imagine, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's that ultimate gaslighting for the partner and the family because it's like no one would believe me that this person is such a monster behind closed doors because they're such an amazing person.
It's true. And they do, just as narcissists are, the communal is very good at the emotional manipulation, just like a
Mm.
narcissist, but they're even more skilled at it because they know how to get in and to draw that supply and to really gain the trust and all of that from everyone around them. And when they get home, they treat the people that are closest to them like trash.
Yeah.
These are ones that, just like a regular narcissist, give you all of these things that you want up front. They know that you like and you want them to keep going in the relationship, and then they start to take it away.
To say to piggyback off what you're saying, Telsha, about like how they gain trust, it's like there's also as they, grow their community of whatever do-gooder thing they're doing, whether it's like a church or a spiritual community or, whatever it is, there's so much built-in trust as their following grows. And it's like all these people look up to this person. So it's so much easier for them to like recruit new people into like their cult, you know?
Yeah, so here's a question for the listeners. Is a communal narcissist always someone that's running like a big organization and big charities or dog rescue or something like that? Or can that be on a smaller scale, like a teacher or a counselor or a police officer or something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Either one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Either one. It just depends on the capacity of the individual, how far up the food chain they are, because some of
Yeah.
them are trained on executive levels. And on those are usually the communals that have like an overt side to them too. Because they're able to kind of move in and out of the circles and, really act like they have that confidence and, you know, they maybe not as arrogant, but, a little bit more out there. So it just depends on, where they land on the food chain, but they could be anywhere Anywhere. You can't ever say, oh, well, they're only executives, they only hang out in, large charities or whatever. Or you can't say that, because they can be a police officer, they can be a librarian, they could be at your local food market, teacher, anywhere. They go, I mean, they're everywhere.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're very common in like the do-good professions like teachers, therapists, coaches, police officers, whatever. Like they are literally everywhere and they'll hide behind that like do-gooder image in order to, continue getting supply from people. And it, like Telsha was saying, it does not have to be on like such a large scale where they're running like this mega community. It can even
Mm.
be like a small community, like, I don't know, like a women's group or something where, it's like 5 or 10 people gather each week and share their stories and all that kind of stuff. And they're still a communal narcissist because they're being viewed by the people who go to this group as like such a great person. And then obviously behind closed doors, not so much.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Huge gaslighters too. They
Oh, yeah.
come preloaded with a lot of gaslighting,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because no one will
absolutely.
ever believe you when you tell them that this person is the way that you see them behind closed
Mhm.
doors. And they
Yeah.
know that.
Exactly.
No
Exactly.
one, and they'll tell you, no one will ever believe that. I
Of
mean, you're
Yeah.
course.
such a person.
And
Yeah.
especially the religious ones too, right? Like the ones that, are a leader of a church and things like that. Like they will use the teachings of whatever holy book they're subscribed to in order to manipulate people and, get supply. And it's just wild.
Yeah, and that's the ultimate wolf in sheep's clothing. I mean, a lot of abusers do gravitate towards religion because it gives them an excuse and it gives them a reason to kind of lord things over other people under the guise of, don't do this because I'm telling you, do this because this is what God wants. And they love the rules and the rituals and things like that without actually embodying any of the actual moral and ethical teachings of religion.
Yeah, it's true, because and this is why it's so good that we're discussing the communal and the religious together, because they kind of go hand in hand. And I think
Mm.
it's important to remember too that the communal narcissists, what they love to do is because they know that they have this like polished image in front of people. They will do things behind closed doors that they know is just absolutely absurd and insidious. But they don't care, because they know that if you ever tried to tell someone, that a person would not believe it. But I want to say this. Now, there's a difference in dealing with a toxic person that is just insecure and needs validation, and a communal narcissist. Like a communal narcissist, they not only need the validation, they have to have the validation, but they're going to do those mean things behind closed doors, like the gaslighting. They're going to lie, and they're not going to say sorry. They're not going to compromise with you. And if they do, now they will compromise with the people out in the public,
Oh,
but
yeah.
behind closed doors, they're not going to compromise. Whereas you have a toxic person that is just looking for validation and attention, sometimes you can pull them and say, hey, no, you can't do that. Or, you can reason with that person. With a communal narcissist or religious narcissist, to the people that's closest around them, they're not going to do that. They're going to, basically tell you you're crazy, that you're being unreasonable, and this is the way it's going to go. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to kind of draw that contrast,
Yeah.
because some people think that, oh, well, maybe this person is a narcissist, maybe not, because nowadays everybody is labeled as a narcissist.
Yeah.
So kind of like, okay, let's not overuse it, but let's be
Yeah.
honest about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 to 15% of the population, depending on who you read. Yeah.
Mhm.
I always say narcissists love to weaponize your own good character and use it against you. So they go for people that are loyal and forgiving and conscientious and hardworking, and then, don't want to give up on people and believe in like putting love first and things like that, and they use that to keep you in the relationship. And religious narcissists do a similar thing. Like there's this thing of always wanting to forgive and always wanting to love each other, and then there's like the belief in the sanctity of marriage and you can't divorce, and then that makes it so hard for the partner.
Totally. 1,000%. Like just the way that they use religion. And it's like, I don't want to sound offensive to anyone who is religious, but it's like, they'll take this book that, I guess it's not offensive what I'm going to say, but they'll take like whatever is said in this book and, interpret it in a way that serves their narrative and like them getting supply from other people. And it's like they'll use like the word of God or whatever deity one subscribes to say like, oh, well, God wouldn't want this, or Jesus wouldn't want this, or whoever. And, if you decide to get divorced, like you're going to go to hell. And, they just really put that fear of God, and like even narcissistic parents too, right? Like they'll use Bible stuff to manipulate their children. Like, oh, you have to honor your mother and father, so therefore I'm allowed to be as abusive as I want, kind of thing. So it's just like they really, take the passages and use them in a way that just really serves their narrative.
Yeah, and it's all about control. Narcissists are all about control.
That's it.
Yeah.
All about control. Using it as a, you don't want to say a weapon, but it kind of is. You know what I'm saying? Because they weaponize it
literally is.
Yes. They weaponize it against you. And then not only that, but they twist scripture to make it fit their narrative. And it's like, that's not what that scripture is saying at all. But yes, it is. It's what they're, it is what it's saying. And if you're not well versed in the scripture, even if you are, a religious narcissist will argue with you, even when they know that they're wrong about it, just because for the sake of argument and going in that circular conversation that's never going to make sense to drive you crazy.
The word
the word salad. And I mean, that's part of the narcissistic abuse in a narcissistic relationship in general, is they're constantly changing the story and twisting things to suit their narrative and gaslighting you and, controlling you and essentially bullying you. And it's even worse when they're bringing God in on their side, particularly if the partner is, genuinely a believer. I find it interesting, the whole concept of the religious narcissist. I find that it's usually one of two situations in terms of how the narcissist is viewing things. Either they don't actually believe in God and the religion and they're just blatantly using it, or they rationalize and justify their behavior by genuinely believing that because they believe that they're special, that they have a special relationship with God and that forgives any of the things that they do.
Ooh, that's good. Well, I think all narcissists think that they're special.
Yeah.
I think that they think that, they have carte blanche. If it's a religious narcissist, they have carte blanche on the communication with Jesus. And, and so Jesus only listens to them. And if you want to get a prayer through, just give me a call and I'll call him up and we're homies. We're going to chat, And so, everybody's
they've got God on speed dial.
Exactly. Yeah, because he's a super pester,
Exactly. You peasants don't. I do.
Yes, that's it. And then you're just like, but he's a whole devil. You know what I'm saying? You're like, he is like bad or she is like horrible. But that's how they do it. And then it's just and it makes the other person think, because they do think that they're so special, especially when they're like because I think the communal and the religious, I don't really think you can like separate the two of them, because the religious narcissist is like gonna be that communal, that do-gooder type. And so, I think they always think that they're special, but in a religious setting, they're going to pretend that they have like way more special superpowers than anybody else. And
Yeah.
they can like send you a prayer and you're instantly healed, just it's crazy.
Totally. And two things I want to add to that. So there's also the religious narcissists who like they're just shit all week, and then Sunday comes along, they go to church
Yeah.
and they think that like God has forgiven them for like all of the bullshit that they've put people through all week, and then they
Mhm.
use the fact that they're religious to kind of like justify like
Yeah.
being a piece of shit. And then what Telsha was saying about like, the communal narcissist who's got like the special connection with God, that also made me
Yeah.
think about something that I see pretty often in like the new age spirituality movement, where it's like there's, and nothing against any of it. Like I'm
Yeah.
not shitting on any of this, but there's like the ones that like, they'll have like a YouTube channel or something, and they'll say that like they're channeling a special message from like the Confederation or like whatever. And it's like that to me is communal narcissism as well, because it's like they're preying on vulnerable people, right? Like when people are
Yeah.
lost, like they'll turn to spirituality or religion or, something like that just to have connection with people and feel like there has to be something more than like whatever this bullshit is. And then they'll, these people will gain the trust by like seeming like such an
Mm.
expert in whatever these like channeled messages are. And, they're only they are correct about like what our mission is on our soul journeys or whatever the hell.
And they
Yeah.
can't see themselves, so they genuinely do think that they're a good person, and they genuinely delude themselves, and they genuinely think that they do have a special relationship with God, and you should just give me a call and I'll get God on speed dial for you. They actually see. But I think there are some narcissists, especially going more towards the psychopathy end of the scale, that are more cynical and that are consciously weaponizing religion and don't actually believe it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so funny because they'll also when you're looking at, or when we're talking about religious narcissists, these are the people that create doctrine that will actually form like an occult, and they will have
Yeah.
these people follow them to like islands, and like we've seen
Hmm.
strange things in the past where they drink the Kool-Aid and everybody was
Yep.
like, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
these are cultish people that have black hearts, and they have some type of delusionary going on in their minds. And you have to ask yourself, like, well, how did they create this? Like, how did they get this in their minds? And it's just the darkness that they operate by. And you can't, and there's no way that you can just like tell them, oh, no, you can't do this or you can't do that. They really do think that they're special. So
Mhm.
there's no turning them around, you know?
Yeah. And they see people as objects to utilize and a means to an end. And I find it so
Exactly.
interesting talking about cults because, all cult leaders are narcissistic or psychopathic. And it's interesting on a small scale the way that in, one-on-one intimate relationships with narcissists, they will use the same brainwashing tactics and cult indoctrination tactics that are used in cults on a large scale.
100%.
Yeah, it is because the more people that they have following them, the more of that ego boost they have and the more control they have, the better they feel. And it just gives them that drive and incentive to want more control because it's the insecurity and invalidation inside of them that just really is like on greedy mode. You know what I'm saying? It's just like they can't get enough. They can't get enough. And their low places, whereas some narcissists, their low places is like when you deal with the somatic, their low places is when they're not getting the type of romance or the type of sex or the type of interaction that they need with people. With a
Mm.
communal or religious narcissist, their low places are like, okay, well, I don't have enough people to do what I say. You know, I don't have enough people that's going to follow me into this black hole that I'm creating. And I want to see them suffer. So I need to get about 200 more people that will believe this lie. And it's like they don't start to get that adrenaline and the dopamine going really until they have more and more people that will buy into the lie. And so this is something that they're constantly after, because and some people like, oh, well, you know, and this is why when you said, Claire, they're like over charitable organizations, they're in, you know, positions like that. Well, yeah, because they want to brag on the following that they have. They want to be able to show people, see, look what I have, you know, you see this, you know,
Yeah.
they want to, even though they know that they're like horrible people, or like you said, Claire, sometimes they probably do genuinely feel like they're good people, but I know they deep down inside that they're not.
Yeah.
But they get their fix off of, you know, people and the amount of people that believe in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
100%.
it's unfortunate because the people suffer and no one will really find them out unless you have someone that comes out and challenges them. And if you have someone that comes out and challenges them, then they're going to try to destroy that individual, especially if they sit in a high position. So these people could go undetected for years and years and years, and no one will ever know, and no one will ever
Except
know
the partner.
yes,
Yeah.
that is left behind. I mean, look at all of the carnage that these people leave behind and all of the people that they ruin and destroy in the process. It's bad.
And I mean, like we said before, they're in all echelons. Like, I genuinely believe, even in our community, that there are narcissistic abuse educators and coaches who are the narcissist.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
And
ever
it's like,
naming names, but there are people that I watch and I'm like,
yep, same.
it's
It's like
you.
there will be, I know, right? And it's like it's funny because like when I first started out in this space, like there would be like a few of them that like I got like a kind of bad vibe, but then they befriended me and
Yep.
then got discarded for some reason, right? So
Yep.
it's like, okay, cool. Like I was right and I need to trust my spidey senses. So it's like I just looked at it like a lesson in trusting my gut because it's always correct. And it's,
Absolutely.
right. And it's such a, you know, narcissists are everywhere. Like, let's face it, they are everywhere. And especially in this little
Community.
corner of the internet, right?
Yeah.
Where, you know, we're educating and giving support for survivors of narcissistic abuse. Like a narcissist in this space would see that as like, oh, vulnerable people, they're hurting, they've been through some shit, I can get supply, right? And then they, you know, they build their followings and all that kind of stuff. And of course, there's like the self-aware narcissists who do that. But at least they've outed themselves. But then there's the ones that like, you know, they pretend that like they're here to help survivors and they've been through it too. And it's like, you know, and then it just causes more shit for the
Even the
people who like,
self-aware, even the self-aware narcissists are pretending that they're on there to help people.
yeah.
And they're not.
They're not.
And it's so funny that you guys are talking about the people in this community that like, oh, we're here to help. And then Adriana's like, oh yeah, so they befriended me. So because of course in the YouTube community, it is like so different. Because I know, Claire, you're mostly on TikTok. Are you on YouTube as well, Adriana, or are you mostly TikTok?
Yeah, but I like neglect my YouTube a lot, but
Me too.
got a little following there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in the YouTube community, it can be because YouTube does pay really well for you know, the channels. And so it can be very toxic. So I have endured a smear campaign for probably the last maybe it's lightened up since, you know, people have shifted off to TikTok, but they left with a bang. And so what I've noticed is that people in the community that have those narcissistic tendencies, you have to be very careful, because these are people that are always having something negative to say about other people. They'll, oh, I don't like this person because she's this and she's that. And they're the people that will actually hop on the bandwagon with other people.
Yeah.
And they will, if the other person doesn't like them, it's like, okay, so you inherited an enemy because of your loyalty. You're stupid. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? Your
Yeah.
loyalty has literally gotten you a whole 10 enemies. You know what I'm saying? And you're willing to
Yeah.
like be an enemy. And so what I learned though, because I was befriended, but what I watched though was the fact that, this person had talked about so many people. And then when they finally got around to like, oh, I apologize to you because I believe what this person said and blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
And, you're and they were just like, just so sweet and so kind. And then, you know what? My intuition says, you're going to be on the chopping block by this person next. And I was
Yes.
like, and sure enough, it happened. This person just went cold on me and
Mhm.
just was like, oh, you're a narcissist,
Yeah.
and I was like, yo,
It's
Mhm.
happened to
and
me as well. Yeah.
oh, it happened
It's
to you.
happened to
Okay.
me as
Mhm.
well. Yeah. Because I
Same.
came on
Okay.
here TikTok, I'm like, I'm gonna be friends with everyone. And I'm like making connections and, talking to all these people. And yeah, I got discarded pretty savagely and heard that everyone's like, there's different people going through it. I'd never name names, but yeah, it's happened. It's happened to people around me. And then you're the narcissist, and it's like, okay, I'm the
Mhm.
narcissist in this situation. Cool.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
And they're really serious about it.
Hmm.
And these are people that are like, these could be like the communal, the do-gooders.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they put themselves out there like they're, actually doing the education and they're helping
Mm.
Hmm.
others, but they're actually there for the drama and the chaos, the pomp and the circumstance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that
100%.
feeds and fuels them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Absolutely.
that exact scenario happened to me with Instagram too, Telsha. Like
Wow.
exactly everything you kind of described. Like, yeah, this not going to name names, but this person
Yeah.
befriended me and, started talking shit about other narcissistic abuse
Hmm.
recovery coaches that they used to collaborate with all the time and go live all the time. And then my
Yeah.
intuition also told me, like, I am next to be cut from this little clique or whatever. And sure enough,
Yep.
I got blocked by like several people and I was like,
Yep.
okay, my intuition was right. And
Mhm.
now I just kind of like keep my distance and don't try too hard to befriend anybody. And then if it
Yeah.
like happens organically, like with you ladies, then great.
Yeah.
But don't go out
That's
of
how
my
it
way.
goes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
And I,
amazing.
yeah, and I think that like people who aren't narcissists, people who come to this work as genuine narcissistic abuse survivors, we have that sort of forgiving, caring, sort of empathetic nature of like believing in people and let's be friends and on that kind of organic level. And it's hard because, yeah, there's narcissists in every echelon. And then you find yourself in situations where you know you I think in romantic relationships a lot of particularly women we expect to be screwed over by men. We've had a lot of bad experiences, we've dated narcissistic men, and then you come into this community where it's like you're friends with everyone, and then when you find that they're kind of turning against you, it's painful because it's like you don't expect it in a friendship, you don't expect it in a narcissistic abuse recovery circle, and it hurts.
Yeah. And there's
Big
so much
time.
shame. There's just
Mm.
so much shame around it too, because it's like, I don't know if this resonates with both of you who have also been through this, but for me, it was like I literally had those moments of panic when, that
Mhm.
whole discard smear campaign kind of thing was going on with the circle I was part of. And I
Mhm.
was just so like worried, like, oh my gosh, like my followers are going to start hating me. Like people are going
Yeah.
to, think bad and, all this kind of stuff. They're going to think I'm not genuine, da, 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 da. But then, of course, inner worked my way through it. And I was like, okay, like if people don't think I'm genuine, that's their thoughts. They can go
Yeah.
think that. It's not going to change the fact that I'm going to keep showing up and doing this and helping people. But it's really hard.
I had
And
the
that's what
exact
I
same
had to
thing.
do. Mhm.
Wow.
Me too.
That
I
panic
did.
and that feeling. And it's triggering when you have been through that in a personal relationship. And then it's like, is this going to play out publicly in front of hundreds of thousands of people? And you're like, oh my God, I'm definitely not a narcissist because I'm not enjoying this.
Exactly.
Right. But they
Exactly.
are though.
Oh
They
yeah,
are. They
exactly.
are. Gotta
We're
keep
hating
that
every
in mind.
second of it. They're loving it.
Yeah.
Like, how would
Um,
you get joy out of destroying someone else? Like, why
Doing
would you
that.
call someone that? And then what got me was that the people that were doing this claimed to be Christians.
yeah.
Mm, there you go.
How do you
Full
hate your
circle.
sister in Christ? Or how do you talk about your sister in Christ like that? And you won't even
Yeah.
sit down and have a conversation with the person, but
Yeah.
you're like
Yeah.
sending subliminals over your platform and basically saying to people that this person is a narcissist. Like, you are all the way off your rocker if you think that you're saved in doing that. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you are, yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. I couldn't, so these people are in every walk of life. And I think it just opened up a whole nother, because I think all three of us have probably had some trauma, betrayal trauma in that area. People just saying that they are here to help the people and they want to form alliances to, hopefully be able to do it on a larger scale. And
Mm.
then you find out that these are people that you cannot trust. And like you said, Adriana, and also you, Claire, we were on the chopping block next.
Mm.
You know,
Yep,
that's
exactly.
hard,
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
hard. So what do you
Yeah.
do after that? You just kind of go in your corner, and like Adriana said, you just keep showing up for your people, because I had a
Yeah.
responsibility to the people. I know that this is part of my purpose and my destiny to
I
do what
agree.
I'm. And
Exactly.
so I had a responsibility to not just show up for the people, but to show up for the big man upstairs. And I'm just like, okay, I'm here to do it all over again. I understand that persecution is a part of this. So let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't
Totally.
know if you guys experienced this, but something that was personal to me in building my platform, like I started educating about narcissistic abuse and trauma bonding in particular, because no one around me understood it or went through it. And I felt so unsafe getting out of my narcissistic relationship. And I felt so small and so no one around me understood. And a lot of my initially building my platform was I felt like I needed to feel strong after the narcissistic relationship. And because I was genuinely afraid of him, I felt like if I have a large platform, then I will feel more safe. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah, it does.
And it's like, he can't come after me. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I could see that as as security, because
Yeah.
you think the visibility. Well, surely you won't come after me because
Yeah.
I'm very visible,
Yeah.
on the internet, and you can turn on TikTok at any time and you could see one of my videos populate. The truth of the matter is, it can make you feel like you have security, but if a narcissist is after you, they don't really care, you know?
Yeah.
And while they may not try to come as hard for you because you have that platform, it just depends on to what degree, because they're all on a spectrum. You
Mm.
know, I had a platform larger than this one person, and I think the person just started to see me as a threat. And, as my platform was growing larger than theirs, they just came after me like relentlessly. And it didn't, but the thing about it is, the more they made videos about me, the more my platform grew. So it's kind of like advertisement.
Hmm. For free.
I didn't have to pay for it. It was
Amazing.
good. I was just like, okay, keep making videos, because I'm
Yeah.
getting like
Yeah.
1,500
Yeah.
subscribers a week.
Amazing.
Pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
I
I
can't
mean,
complain about
yeah. I mean, my narcissist isn't on social media like this, but yeah, I just felt like it was a protector.
that's good. Well, I have a question. What ended up
Mm.
happening if, okay, so after they knew that you obviously were on social media and you were educating, like, did you ever get a call from the narcissist? Did they ever say, oh, so you're doing this? Of course not, because they're not going
My
to acknowledge.
narcissist, exactly. My narcissist is blocked everywhere, so he couldn't get to me. He's blocked on my TikTok page, but there's dozens of fake accounts pretending to be me and spamming my content everywhere. So he's seen it. He will have seen it, but I don't talk about my personal stuff on my page. I don't talk about my own relationship because I don't want retaliation. Anyway,
So
getting a
just
bit
right.
deep and personal here, cutting to the soul of it. Adriana, you had a story about a communal narcissist with a dog rescue.
Hmm. Yep. I will try to keep it as short as possible, but oh my goodness, the entire cycle of narcissistic abuse played out in this situation. So back in 2016, my last dog, who sadly passed away 2 years ago, Chewy, he was in a wheelchair. So he was paralyzed. He
Oh,
had disc disease. Yeah. So I had him as a puppy. It happened when he was 3 years old, and I just kept him and did what I could to make him comfortable. And he lived to 13 and a half. So amazing. And so he had like his own Instagram page and things like that. Like I absolutely, that dog was my child. And so in 2016, me and my husband got engaged and we moved in together. And then I saw this ad for this dog that was up for adoption who was also in a wheelchair. So
oh,
yeah, so I was like, holy shit, like maybe we should adopt a second wheelie dog because why not? So we go to the shelter. I'm not going to name the name, but it's this beautiful dog rescue. They put like $25 million into it. It's like acres of property. The dog kennels themselves are like set up like little living rooms. Like it is just unreal. Like it
wow.
is, yeah, like absolutely gorgeous. And of course, the person running it, communal narcissist, but you wouldn't think that initially. It's like, oh, they care so much about the dogs. Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like all these dogs need homes, all that kind of stuff. And like the people in the dog community, like they're kind of crazy, right? So I've met my share of like crazy dog people. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we go to like see this dog and um they didn't even like they saw Chewy, my previous dog, and they were like, yeah, you can adopt him. Like they didn't ask us any questions. They didn't do any kind of like background checks. Like they usually like, go to your home, make sure it's suitable, all that kind of stuff. But like they just saw like, oh, they have a dog in a wheelchair. Perfect, done. Our work here is done kind of thing. So like that
Mm.
would be the love bombing. I even went on the
Mm.
news with them in 2016 to like,
Wow.
promote their rescue. And like I had Chewy and the other dog with us, and I won't name the other dog just in case people remember him and they can identify the rescue because I don't want any lawsuits. But it was all great. And then the dog that we adopted started going crazy. So we didn't hear the full story about this dog. So the initial story we got was like this dog was from Israel, lived on a farm, got hit by a car, and then the owner didn't want it anymore. And so,
Wow.
heartbreaking, right? Like you feel so sorry for the dog, you have to take it in. And right when we adopted him, he had been recovering from back surgery. So he was like kind of weak and, not insane yet. And then exactly 2 months after we adopt him, something happened. Like he just got his energy. He ate the couch. He started having panic attacks. Like he literally ate the couch and was inside it. Like, and it
Wow.
was insane. Yeah. Chewy, my little angel, was terrified of this dog. Like he was like hiding underneath like the side tables and things like that. So it was just like not a good time. And then we got a behaviorist. Like we spent thousands of dollars on this dog trying to like rehabilitate him and help him with his anxiety. He was on like a bunch of different prescription medications. Like I was literally going to the pharmacy, picking up doggy Valium. And he was on like a bunch, like he was on like 5 prescriptions because his anxiety was unreal. Like he would be waking up in the middle of the night, and I was starting to get panic attacks myself. And I started I had to go to my doctor to get anxiety medication myself because it was just like a lot to deal with. And yeah, the behaviorist was basically like, I'm going to cut to the chase. Like this is, it's probably hopeless. Like maybe there's something neurological going on. And so we called the rescue and we're like, look, like we're having like so many issues. I was like in tears, like, because I could never imagine, like the shame of like giving up this dog that you were trying to help. And so they told us like, okay, like come to the shelter. We're gonna, we'll do some like brain scans on him. We'll pay for it, but have your insurance cover it, and then we'll pay the difference. I'm like, okay, sure, cool. So we never actually surrendered him to them. But when we went, the owner, she's like, I had a dog that ruined my life when I was younger. And I'm like, okay, cool. Tell me how much better you are than me. Like, bitch,
Yeah.
Like she was just so condescending and horrible. And I'm literally bawling my eyes out at this dog rescue, like just trying to like understand, like, what do we do here? And like, she was completely emotionless, just like smug look on her face and just kind of bragging about how like she had these dogs that ruined her life. And then, yeah, basically, and oh, there was a smear campaign too. So basically they took him back so that they were going to deal with like transporting him to the vet appointments and all that kind of stuff. And then Chewy had an Instagram page, and the other dog, like they then shared the Instagram page. And then I started getting hate messages from like the people. Yeah, because like someone from the shelter like posted a picture of the dog, like saying, oh, he's back. And then, shit started getting spoken. We're getting these hate messages like saying, how could you give up on like such an incredible dog? I'm like, you fucking take him, But like I couldn't deal with it. Like my husband was dealing, like he was just like telling these people off. And in hindsight, obviously, like don't bother defending yourself during a smear campaign, but whatever. I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. And then we got discarded. Like we literally got discarded. Like they never followed up with us. They never called us back. We tried to follow up. They ignored us. And so it was just literally love bomb, devalue, discard. And as far as we know, like, I mean, this was years ago. So like maybe, like, and honestly, like, I don't say this lightly, but that dog probably should have been put out of his misery because it
Sounds
was
like
bad.
it.
Like, that's what I was thinking.
Bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it turns out that like one of the people that works at that shelter like was fostering him, and then he started having seizures and all this other crazy stuff. And she would make these posts about how like, oh, it's like such a challenge taking care of you, but you're so worth it, da 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 da. And I'm just like, wow.
That's such a communal narcissist thing, to take this animal that is desperately like suffering and frankly probably beyond help, and then just be taking all of these pictures and like posting it online and look at how good I am looking after this dog. Meanwhile, probably not even giving it any love or attention at home behind closed doors, just taking selfies, posting it all over the internet. Yeah, absolutely.
1,000%. And what's hilarious, and what's crazy, oh, and another part of the story was when we brought him back, like not to surrender him, but to like say like, what the fuck are we doing here? We got another part of the story. We got a new part of the story of this dog's trauma where, so the first owner that lived on the farm with him gave him up, but then this other woman who was also in a wheelchair adopted him, made a GoFundMe account, exploiting the dog, saying like, oh, we're both in wheelchairs, give us money, and didn't take care of him at all. So like even more trauma for this dog that we had no idea about. And like I literally had to deactivate Chewy's Instagram account for like 2 years before I was like felt comfortable bringing his Instagram back. And even that was so scary because I was just like, oh my God, they're going to find him. It's going to be a disaster. People are going to send hate messages and say I'm like a horrible person. But yeah, They're
Oh, I so
everywhere.
feel your pain and fear in that. It's like, oh,
Horrifying.
yeah, a
Yeah.
smear campaign. Yeah. But also,
Yeah.
that's such narcissistic bullshit. I don't know the story. Like, yeah, this dog was like in a car accident in Israel, and then we flew the dog into Canada, and all of these things happened. It's like, whatever, dude. It's like all
Yeah.
bullshit on that story.
Yeah.
Sounds like that
Well,
person
there
had,
was papers. There was
oh, there
papers.
was?
So it was like legit. I had to
Oh,
Okay.
it
learn.
was? Because I was getting ready to say that sounds like a histrionic, because you know,
Yeah.
histrionics really, I mean,
Yeah.
like deep lies.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
lies are
No,
just
like I
like,
literally,
whoa.
yeah, I literally had to learn Hebrew dog commands to get this little fucker to like listen to me even a little bit. And like he actually responded to the dog commands in Hebrew. So he really was from Israel.
The
And like there
story
was
just keeps
actually a
getting
star on
crazier.
it. I know, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And here
It
I
just
am, like,
keeps getting better, right?
you
It's
know,
like, oh my gosh, you could
I
write a
know.
book on that one. That's
Right? And it's like as I'm speaking it out loud because I haven't told this story in years, I'm like, you cannot make this shit up. Like it's
you
just
can't.
insane.
You can't. It's crazy.
Wild.
That's nuts. Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
All
and
right.
one more part of this story, and I will shut up, I promise. Um, I looked up like the Google reviews of this place, and then I filtered it by the 1 stars, and like all these people were like, the owner's such a bitch, she's a narcissist, da 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 da, like horrible place, terrible
Interesting.
experience, like similar experiences to what we went through. And then Glassdoor, like the employee reviews, oh my God, like everyone's like, it is the most toxic workplace I've ever been at. I wanted to stay for the animals, but I couldn't do it for my mental health. Like, so it's just like
Wow.
the truth comes out and like it's there if you look for it, but the general public would probably not necessarily look at employee reviews of the dog rescue place as like, their first idea.
And that narcissist lives in the comment section on Instagram of everyone saying, wow, you're such a good person. That's so amazing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Wow.
Call me Marks.
That's crazy. That's a
All
good
right,
story.
ladies. It's been a great episode, and we'll see each other next week.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.